Show me a country which is doing good. Show me a company which is doing good. Show me a family which is doing good. And I promise you, and I'll show you how they treat and respect the woman in the family, or in the company, or in the society, or in the country. If we are not respecting women, if we're not giving them equal opportunities, if we're not fighting for causes which gives them empowerment, then we can't talk of a progressive company, we can't talk of a progressive country, and we can't talk of a progressive civilization. I think this is precisely, if you look at BAGIC, we have had so many initiatives. One was very strongly to get the women workforce back into employment after they've taken a break, when we started the women branches. Or if you look at the way we look at selection in leadership positions, or we look at how do we get people more empowerment in terms of so they can make a big difference, or how they lead projects, or how there is zero tolerance for something in which you believe that there is no respect or less respect being given. Once we build this up, then we can talk of creating a progressive organization. So on this Women's Day, as the MD and CEO of this company, my commitment remains that there will be always an equal opportunity. There will be always zero tolerance for any issue in which the respect or empowerment or equal opportunity has not been given. There will always be a chance for you to glorify, to take it to the next level, to shape your career the way you want it, along with all the difficulty that if you face shall be taken care of, is what I promise you. A very happy Women's Day. A very good afternoon, everybody, and this time I have a very special person with me in my show, and she is none other than Lieutenant General Madhuri Kantikar. So there are only 3 generals who made it to this position in the army or the armed forces, to put it broadly, and she's one of them. She is somebody, like if I look at professions which I admire, teacher, doctor, soldier, and she's 3 in 1. Well, where could I expect to get a guest who would be having all the 3 professions together, which is so close to my heart in terms of the ones who make a difference to our society, the ones who make us better than what we are, and the ones who protect us, all put in one. And she has had an amazing career all through. And not only that, as a couple, between her and her husband, I think they're the only couple in the armed forces who are in a position of general, which is there. And she has her own Pune girl. She stayed from here, she moved it up. And then whatever work she did, it has been an inspiration, And that's why I'm so keen that on Women's Day, I get somebody who inspires not only me, but the entire country as a whole. And that's why we have her for all of us to listen and learn something from her. But it, as usual, not be a scripted show, so I do not know what she'll answer. I also don't know what to ask, but that's how I start with. So if I see, you enter the armed forces, joining AFMC to do your medicine, and your grandmother also is a doctor. So, but normally you would join any other medical college. Why AFMC? When you started there, because that is in a way you have a bond to enter the army. And would your family be comfortable that you are going to join AFMC and then be a part of the army?
No, not at all. Firstly, thanks a lot, Tapan, for having me on your conversation today. And I look forward to some fun and chai pe charcha. So I think that's the first thing, because, when formal introductions really put you off and you feel get someone up there. But I'm someone, like you said, Punyachi Mulgi, a girl next door from Pune who woke up from her dream to find the dream has come true. That was a good question. Yes, my grandmother was a doctor, but I mean, she had a very different background. She was from a little village. She was sort of an orphan at 2, married off at the age of 9. Became a child widow at the age of 10, and would have probably been given up for, as a thing. But her mother, I think, was a thing. And when this Women's Day theme, I was just looking at it, I said, if there's someone who chose to challenge, I would say it was my grandmother's mother, who didn't go with society, but sent her to Pune with an uncle to Sri Maharshi Karve, and who educated her, and she went on to become a doctor at 28. So I think probably we were, as we grew up, we were kind of always inspired by her stories. But getting to AFMC with all that thing, Dad was okay with telling about how his mother was a great woman. But when I said army, he said nothing doing. So it was that, but probably, and I'd never heard of AFMC. I was keen on joining medicine. A friend of mine who was with me in college at Ferguson College, she was from an Air Force background, and she was the first one who introduced me to this name of the Armed Forces Medical College, and took me along with her when she wanted to collect her forms. And I was so impressed, actually. Something, where you suddenly call it love at first sight or something. So I said, wow, aisa bhi college hota hai. And that was something which I said, I want to join. And to tell you honestly, in a way, I hoodwinked Dad. I didn't tell him. I gave the exam, I gave the interview. And then my grandmother stood by me and my grandfather signed on the indemnity bond we had to serve in the army, and that's how I went and joined. So it was more sort of a decision swimming against the tide, which the first challenge that I chose was joining AFMC.
That's really inspirational, ma'am. If I listen to Grandma's story, and I want people to go back to those times in history where being a widow itself was a huge issue, and that too at such a young age. And it could have caused huge societal pressure. And then her mother standing up to it. Imagine, we are talking of an era in which nobody was listening to women at that kind of...
1928. I mean, that's really eons back.
It was before independence, and we have heard all our social reforms. And today itself is so difficult. Imagine in those era, she stood up, went to become a doctor. No doubt we know where all this lineage comes from to you, ma'am, But I think we have a similar story. I also ended up in insurance accidentally with my friend bought an extra form and asked me to fill it up. I think that is how most things happen in life. It did not fit this time, and my mother was very unhappy again.
I was reading about, when you jump into this thing you want to know about, I was reading about you, and I was quite fascinated that someone who's doing science suddenly gets into an insurance field and excels at it. So I don't think it's got to do with the agenda. I think it's got to do with the focus of what you want to do.
Ma'am, I think I'll tell you what, focus is all are very good words. It has to do with attitude. I'm going to hear you, and that's why I see a reflection of me and you. The attitude was simple. Yeah. Whatever I liked, I did. And when I did something, I enjoyed doing it. I think that is what, when I hear what you're saying, I think that's the theme comes out. Because when I read about you, when you were the dean in AFMC again, you started a marathon and whatnot. You were the most popular teacher or doctor, if I may say so, for all the kids there. So how do you do that, ma'am? It's like, I've heard about this ageless body, timeless mind, all that stuff. How do you defy the normal thing that people would normally, get into and get into this kind of...
I think you gave me the answer. It's the attitude, right? It's the attitude and a passion which comes through. And probably if you go with your calling, and if you see the bottom line of all these activities, I mean, I became a pediatrician. I probably had somewhere in me a thing of a love for children. So pediatrics was my choice, by choice. I said, if I do PG, I'm going to do pediatrics. And then I think being with pediatrics, it rubs off on you. So it's not like just remaining childish, but you have that childlike energy and enthusiasm, which rubs off onto you because you're all the time surrounded by these young patients and things like that. So that was one aspect. And secondly, when I went back as dean, when I look back, I was just telling the other day, I said, it was a time in my life where I'd gone into administration and moved out of the comforts of my children's wards in the hospital, always very loud and crying and laughing and running. And it's not like the adult ward, So from that, I'd moved out. In my own life, the children had moved out. Your son had got married, daughter had moved out. So there was that void. And then I suddenly get 700 children. Wow. I think it was that. So, and I likened it to a same experience of, I think teaching and parenting has something in common. You have to be a Hitler in both places. There's no goody-goodiness. So, I mean, I know my students used to literally say, God, she's the most strict and And another story, I think, being with the first woman dean, they said you can fool some people all the time, you can fool all the people sometime, but you can't fool mom. So you have that attitude about you, and when you approach that, you take it in that. But at the same time, there's always that bit of love somewhere, a tenderness, even when the mother gets so I realized I probably was reflecting that in my ruling with my head and leading that college on with my heart, when suddenly I found cartoons which and my nickname given was Rajmata. I think that is where, so if you have to draw a message from it, a leaf from it, I think I'd like to share is, leave that childlike enthusiasm and energy about you. Don't give up. I mean, so what if your hair is gray? It's the heart which is young, and that should remain with you, right?
Yeah, ma'am. I think on the hair graying, I decided to lose hair faster than it allowed to gray, so that I remain a child forever. So coming to the point, I was listening to you, ma'am, and it reminded me of my daughter. She's doing a PG in gynae. She said in the COVID time, there were only 3 doctors who were working. The gynecologist, the pediatrician, and the anesthesia. Well, we are delivering babies like crazy. And they formed that bond. And I think she puts on some videos on Insta, and that one also went viral. But they said,
there was another reason, if you see all these specialities work when the patient is not talking to you.
Yeah, true.
You get it? You see what's common? The moment you said it, what struck me is you're taking critical decisions. In children, they don't always communicate what's happening to them. You have to use your ESP and everything else to diagnose. In gynae, I mean, at that moment of when the deliveries are occurring, you can't stop it, you can't expedite, you're there to take split-second decisions, and it's your decision which is between life and death. And the same thing about anesthesia. You are taking control of a whole human body. So I think that's where we bond.
Yeah, and when I see her working, I feel I'm very happy that I didn't become a doctor. Mom, it's crazy. I don't know, how do you guys do it? 24 hours, 36 hours, still smiling and still laughing. I think somewhere, get it wrong. When they feel hard work kills happiness, I don't agree with that. I think I've seen people really work very hard. No, you are a soldier. You have been in the front. It's such a stressful job. Pediatrician is itself a stressful job. Small kids, and like you said, you don't understand what's happening, and you can't take wrong decision. It's a question of a small child. Then you have been in the front. Then you have been a dean, a teacher. Like, there's so many stressful jobs that you handle. And today, when I see you, you're still so smiling, so bright, so cheerful, as if today is the first day in college. How did you manage? How do you manage stressful situation, and how do you get this attitude, ma'am? I think that is something that's very, very important.
I see. I mean, if you want a level of, you want the rewards, the hard work for it has to be in equal proportion. So if you start by saying you want to climb Mount Everest, you're not happy with doing some kind of little hillocks or something, So when you've chosen it, it's your own chosen and it's your passion. You want challenges. If you had a straight walk and you kept walking, or if you're driving on a monotonous straight road, you can sleep off because it gets so boring. It's only when the speed breakers and the bumps and the turns come and you're driving on the mountainside and you have that thrill coming, So over a period of time, when there's that passion, you really find that that time you're not tired. No? When you're driven, when you're really driven for that this thing, you don't really feel tired. After that, it does affect you because you've sort of expended so much of this, and that is why I think not just a medical practice thing. Today, every job is stressful, and it's both genders for which it is stressful because your aspirations, you're always torn up between family and work, and you're this. So I always like to share with everyone that it's so important to have a Pareto principle in your life of an 80-20. So work hard, but party harder also. So you keep that time aside. And that's something I've never given up on. Through everything, it could be that maybe I have to get up a little half an hour earlier, or an evening I would come back from work and just get into my running shoes and go for a walk. So it's fitness, because it's important to have a fit mind in a fit body. So you have to take care of it. Nothing, even a gardener, he really prunes the trees. He looks after so much, he nurtures it. So I think you need to look after yourself if you have to look after someone else. So keeping yourself fit and having hobbies. So that's something I think so it was not never, because all work and no play made even Jack a dull boy. So Jane is no different.
That is good. All right, well, coming to hobby, what are your hobbies, ma'am? I think that'll be interesting to know.
The hobbies have also changed with the, the knees and the, younger days, it was always sports, athletics, and I was always on the physical activities. Then I think the journey in the army also was, when it was tough, I always found out an opportunity and this thing. So I always developed something new wherever I went, if there was something. So I took up horse riding. Then I had a stint with the Navy, so I did some yachting. So it's been ensured that there was always a little bit of an outdoor, being a sports person. When that went away, you could join in with this. And now that it's aged up, I play golf. So it's still a nice, make sure that I keep that little time. Okay, Saturday afternoon, something, my husband and me can go and enjoy doing together. So at some point it was swimming, but the hobby was generally an outdoor activity, which would have with friends, with people. So it would always be a de-stressor.
No, I think it's such a powerful point. A lot of us forget this. See, if I just sum it up, you ensure that you would disconnect and be outside somewhere. Be it nature, be it somewhere. Second point I heard was that you always found time for your friends. I think, irrespective of how busy a person is, you can't find time for family, friends, and you can't find time for yourself, and you can't take care of yourself, then you're not going to win this marathon of life. I think that is something which comes out very, very clearly. So that we should never forget.
Tire out if you start sprinting when you have a long distance race to run. You can't sprint alone. You need a group, and you're doing it you're pacing yourself nicely. So you hydrate yourself in between, and you listen to some music. So you have to have that balance between the two. I think that's very important.
That's a very, very good message. Now, in your life, did you ever feel like giving up on something? See, one trait I've seen a lot of people is that they come very close to giving up, but that moment they decide to pull on, and that is where the difference between success and a failure comes through. It's not about an individual. So have you had experiences like this in your life?
Absolutely. Tapan, I think there were a number of times I did want to quit, but one would say, okay, I've got nothing to lose. I've got my back against the wall, so I'll kick back once more time. And it was in fact, one of my colleagues once said, I wanted to go abroad, and there was so much red tapeism, bureaucracy. And I mean, any other person would have given up. And I went right back again with that, and it worked out. And that I remember my colleague telling me, ma'am, that's the difference. इतनी मेहनत आपने डाली, और कोई होता तो छोड़ देता कब का. So I think what you said is correct. But that was on the smaller scale, but even in the larger scale, wasn't easy. I mean, if you look at it, like I think now I've said it in so many out of 36 years that while now my husband's retired, we were together only for 12 years. And 24 years being that single parent and running a house. So there were children here, children there. I mean, how much ever you love anything, you can't, you're stretching yourself beyond all expectations, and you kind of want to really give up. So I think there were lots of, at least 3 times I remember, where I wrote out my resignations, and then, and those times there was always that support. And I think the biggest pillar was my husband. And to all the people already married, looking forward to marriage, I think I will quote what he told me of growing together without growing apart. because he said that if it had been sort of an unwritten rule between us that if I call for help, I won't call Wolf Wolf every time, but if I say, okay, I've reached my limit, he's going to drop everything and be there. So at least a couple of times he did that, where he gave an adverse career, came and handled and helped me get back to, but told me not to. So it's very important to have that kind of a relationship in your. And there were times when it would be my in-laws or my parents who would come in. So we must remember that in life we are not alone, and we must reach out, because sometimes we hesitate. And when nothing else was there, like he was in an exercise, it was my colleagues, my own colleagues in the armed forces. It's like an extended family we work with. And I didn't hesitate to say, look, ab mujhse nahi hoga. And they said, nahi, don't worry, ye hum kar lenge. So there was, and I owe a lot to them, that I was not permitted to give up, because I had nurtured those relationships, friends, family, and people with me.
Brilliant, ma'am. I think one thing which comes out clearly when I speak to you is you're a very clear-hearted person, ma'am. I think that is something which, again, when I tell a lot of people that it's very essential that you be at heart, be very clear. Don't have a facade. Don't try to put things up.
Very well said. In fact, my colleague once told me कि थोड़ा तो छुपाया कर, तेरा चेहरा is like a mirror. सारा दिख जाता है, गुस्सा आता है तो बोल देती है, मगर दिल में कुछ नहीं रखती हूँ. Very true.
That is what makes you who you are, no, ma'am. So that again is very important. The other important lesson is 3 times she decided to resign. 3 times, not a joke, no. And you see the relationship, and there's an important message of the relationship also. All of you were recently married. In my time, there's no question of divorce and all. The concept ही नहीं था. शादी हो गई, now you're all मतलब अब तो जिंदगी भर मतलब you just figure out कि कौन सा जन्म है, 5वां जन्म चल रहा, 6वां जन्म चल रहा, 7वां जन्म. I think that is the only option you figure out which life are you in. But I think for all the young couple that is here listening to this, it's a very powerful message. See what she said, that when she called her to her spouse, he would drop everything and be there for her. But at the same time, she was not misusing this power, not reaching out to him for every small thing. She was running her show, doing the stuff required. But when required, her spouse would reach out to her. No, can we, as young couples, try and figure it out, that can we be that kind of role model for each other? No, can we grow together? I think that also is very important. But today, one of my biggest worry in the Indian society is the number of divorce cases I see and the number of stress I see in young couples, which I not seen earlier. No, like I said, ma'am, in my time, this concept ही नहीं था.
Developing a level of tolerance. When I see the younger, I mean, from our generation, the younger, I feel they want to give up too fast, or the tolerance level, you don't throw away everything, and can I bring in a concept? I read a Japanese, this thing, it's called kintsukuroi. Kintsukuroi is an art. It just suddenly, when you said, when I wanted to quote it, it's an art by which a broken piece of porcelain is bonded together using gold glue. And that piece actually looks artistic and beautiful. So the thing there, lesson is that it can be damaged, but it cannot be destroyed. So I think that's the same concept. We need to, somehow get it into our younger generation that it's important, and damages would be there, but don't destroy a thing just because it got a little crack.
That's such an amazing concept. Put it goal and then to a point also. And then I think that's how the culture gets created, ma'am. When families see this,
yes.
They also understand that
this is our culture, this is our Sanskriti. The way we are brought up with value systems, that's the difference. That the Indian culture, we are more resilient. We are more this. If we lose that, we would lose a lot. The nation as a whole, the generation as a whole, would have too much to lose. It sounds a little philosophical, but I think it's very, very important.
And the problem is, I'm a scientist, so for me, everything has got proof. I can give you proof that it's happening. See, when I was younger, ma'am, my country was poorer, but I was happier. Just think about it. Today, my country is richer, but we are not as happy as we were when that is there.
It's like that, where you say, you have a watch, but you don't have time.
Exactly. it is happening already, and that's why in my conversation I bring this out, ma'am, because very critical for us to pause and think that something is going wrong. No, and money
Very
is not
well.
everything.
Yes.
Relationships are, spending time is. In fact, one of the questions one of my juniors asked me once was, "How do you balance family and work time?" I said, "I do not know because when I set up the company, I really worked very hard from morning till late night. But one thing I ensure that be it anniversaries, birthdays, annual sports day, or my kids' birthdays, irrespective if my boss sacked me also, I would take leave and be there. In fact, I remember once I flew down from China just for a day to be there on the annual sports days to see my daughter get the award, and then I flew back again the same night. But
Yeah.
I think the question is you have to take out time, and be there for times when your family needs you. You can't try and shirk away and say no, I'm very busy, because then what are you really busy for? If you don't have family, you don't have friends, then what did you earn at the end of the day? I think that is something we should question ourselves every time.
And when you're there, you need to be wholeheartedly, because it's. I remember at times when I was, and children can understand that. I'd be say cooking, and they were this thing, and I'd just say ha ha, and they'd say, okay, I'll talk to you later, because you're hearing, but you're not listening.
Amazing, I'm talking to you. I think there's so many things that comes out. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
now coming to this point that when let us say, and you have seen so much, when there's a war happening, ma'am, and you see the escalation build up, and now you as you have to support people not only from a physical difficulties happening, but moral support, being there. So in that point of time, what's your mental state, ma'am, and how do you get into that environment where you still have to be the role model for people to see the same cheerful lady they're used to seeing, in spite of the world breaking down around them, ma'am? How do you do that?
Yeah. You can do that when you sort of, how does an actor do? You get into a role with your full heart and soul. So you don't take work home, and you don't take home to the workplace. So when you get into that role, you actually forget. When you see someone else's suffering, you don't even remember that you have a problem. And this has happened, I mean, during the Kargil time, we were, like I was telling, and that was one time where family was in every different station. Husband was in one, I was in Pathankot. My son had got into 10th standard. He said, I'm not moving now with you. So daughter and me were there. Son was here in Pune. So we were all over, and a whole year had gone by, and we planned this great holiday to, go to Singapore, Bangkok, all bookings done. Everyone's coordinating 4 people's leave was the biggest Herculean task. We'd managed all the clearances, everything done. And I came in ahead to Pune because we would go to Bombay and fly out. And then Kargil happened, leave was stopped. So it was such a letdown for the children. It was such a letdown for both of us, because we'd really looked forward to this. But it was very momentarily, when you just this thing. And again, the family came, and then when the kids understood, they said, no, no, no. My in-law said, no, let the children be here. You go back alone and be there, because we had to sort of report back for duty. But when I look back, and then when reached there, and that even that I was not getting the money back was also forgotten when so much work started coming in. But I feel today, even my children had a lot of sacrifices they did, and when today, as they have grown up, I feel there's somewhere in them also an understanding and a capability which has come in, because they went through it growing up like that.
It's true, man. In today's COVID time, something like that, families all apart and
Yes.
difficult, do not know how
Yeah.
things are going. So I
Yeah.
can understand that. You have lived it so many times, in the
Yes.
past to see how it has been, where it has been. Any special message that you want to give to the women who are listening to you with today's Women's Day? And would you want to say something which you, from your
Yeah.
feel that that you wanted to
Yeah.
speak about?
Correct. No, I think I would give 2 messages. One is the theme, choose to challenge, because there are a lot of us who hesitate to open up our mouth. We feel very strongly, and I've had to do that a number of times, especially because I wouldn't say my organization is male dominated, but it's predominantly men. So when you're working in an environment which has so many more men, and you're at times the only woman in that this thing, you do feel, should I open up? What will people say? But if it means a lot to you, you have to learn to open your mouth, Because in any case, the battle is lost if you don't even try before you even started the fight. So I think that's one thing. And since the theme for this is that, I would tell women to do that, choose to challenge when you feel, don't keep quiet. But I would also say that, as you grow up, also balance it out. There's no point, always having I, me, and myself as the three winners who come out. Life is about also give and take. So learn to do that. And in that, I would bring in the prayer of serenity, which says, God, give me the serenity to accept what I can't change, the courage to change what I can, and the humility and intelligence to know the difference between the two. So I think that is important, which doesn't come overnight. And you would learn from your mistakes. In fact, you remember your mistakes more. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to be normal. It's okay to learn by your mistakes. But then, and that's for both genders. I don't think it's about women. The first part, I like say, okay, I think these messages are to both genders. That when we feel it's something is passionate about us, open your mouth, but balance out what impact your zid or whatever you decide, I have to achieve it, would have on your near and dear ones. So if you do that and say, yes, balance it out, I don't think it goes. And when you're in a position of dilemma, just shut your eyes and say, what is it that means most to me now? Is it that, like you said, you came back from China? I don't think in your conscience anyone is ever wrong. It's what we get carried away when we don't shut our eyes and listen to what the conscience tells you. So I think that is the message I'd like to end on.
Brilliant, ma'am. I think now I know why you have been so successful. Very simple, very humble, very powerful learnings, and all your life learnings, ma'am. And you put it out so beautifully in such a beautiful way. We can write books on what we just heard, but no, I listens to it carefully and just listens what you have said and try and imbibe it. And you said that it's not easy. It's not like a switch that you listen and right now it will happen. But you keep on repeating to yourself what you want to do, and slowly you'll get there. And you hang on to it. And at the end of it, keep smiling like you do, ma'am, and be happy. I think that is what is more than anything else. But amazing speaking to you, ma'am. I had a great time speaking to you. Thank you very much for your time. I loved it.
And my best wishes to Bajaj Alliance. You all are doing a great job. And my best wishes to all the friends who would be listening in. Take care. Bye-bye. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure spending the afternoon with you.
My pleasure, ma'am. Entirely. Thank you.